she introduced that we need to keep calm. So I tried to wear a white shirt and that so that I show this black and white conspiracy. But you know what I don't like, Karan? It's all red. He wants this discussion to go heated. I don't know. I hate you, Karan. Karan! Okay, before we start, I want to ask something. How many of you know what is this? Old knees, stay back. Can you see the size? 1.44 MB. Right? What's this? DVD. And what's this? Everybody knows. It's paper. So, from here, all the way to here, and now where is it all going? On the cloud. Same way, if I ask, like, some of you may know, what was this? Remember? Yeah, and now how do we send messages? Slack, WhatsApp, Snapchat. That's also outdated, I believe. Like people are. So, moving away. And then, when things are happening in this way, outside the weather is changing, things are doing. And please, nothing to do with the exit polls, huh? No. It's badal rahe hain when I say it's not loaded. Remember, it's all red out here. But, like they say, for everything there has to be an answer. The whole nation wants to know. Again, yeah, nation wants to know, patented nahi hai. There is a gravitas, and luckily we have a panel which maintains the gravitas. I'm sure they would. Today, you don't believe. Okay, I know. Again, I blame it on Karan and Mr. Batra. The red, nothing, because I know you all for long. You all do maintain the dignity. But the nation does want to know, because there are things which are changing. But it's not just the nation. Today, the whole world, the universe wants to know what is going to happen if we keep adopting technology. We are using technology to see things beyond the universe. I mean, our NASA scientists, our ISRO scientists, they are sending all this technology, all data is coming. Some is coming on the cloud, artificial intelligence is there. So the technology is there. Key question is that, are we adopting technology in the right manner? And currently, for this discussion, we have the topic, is AI ready for us, or are we ready for AI? And since we have a forum which is mostly of the communication professionals, the topic exactly, does the PR industry need complete overhaul? But considering the veterans we have in the panel, it's actually just going beyond the PR industry, because now we are more on the communication space. So does the PR stroke communication industry need complete overhaul? And us discuss, deliberate, and debate on the topic, we have people, some on my left and some on my right. Again, no biases, right and left. We are all in the center for the current time being, till the exit poll stays. So, first I will say, on my right are people for the motion. Mr. Nikhil Ray is at the center. So the answer is that he's in the center of the right. Mr. Nitin Batri to my extreme right. And we have somebody coming from Jamshedpur, Jharkhand, my home state, Nuna Rajiv. So, there's a right, there has to be balance on the left. So, against the motion, on my left, we have Aman Gupta. He just arrived by AI. Ashwini said that, just in nick of time. Ashwini Sigla, and center of left. You always have seen Vanna Sandeep.
That's the counterweight. Yeah. Solid balancing left and
So,
of the intellect.
So while most of you would know the panelists, but just for the benefit, and since it's going online, I'm sure a lot of people are also tracking it. There's a hashtag which I believe our lovely MC had told we need to use. So just to give a short profile, Runa Rajiv Kumar, as I said, she has come all the way from Jamshedpur. She is on a working holiday here. She is a seasoned communication professional, like most of my panelists, with almost like 2.5 decades, some with 3 decades of professional experience. So Runa Rajiv Kumar, seasoned communication expert. She has spent time in the print journalism, in the radio journalism, and now in the steel industry as a comms communication expert. So she comes with a varied experience. She has really seen how the things are moving, and particularly in the core sector. She excels in strategic internal as well as external communication, which includes rules in media management, crisis communications, when she is not knowing that what more to do with AI. So welcome, Runa. Then we have Nitin Mantri, whom I always say that he's like the brand ambassador of the PR industry. He wears multiple hats. He's been the president of ECO. He has been the president of PRCAI. These are international and national bodies of PR associations. Mantri has received several awards, some mainly for trying to promote the industry, and the industry typically are people like us. He is the global PR leader, and he holds currently the regional executive MD role for Asia Pacific for AVNWE. Welcome, Nitin. And Nikhil Day. Nikhil is somebody I've been knowing almost since I was introduced to PR, because he was the one who introduced me to the PR industry. He is the executive director of Ad Factors PR, but his passion is in the soul. So he's the founder of Soul to Soul Coaching. He loves learning from students of communication and also students from across the line. His teaching courses involve various kind of assets on life, on communication. He's the first recipient of the ICF India Coaching Excellence Rising Star. And for the benefit of all, I must say, during the COVID time, he engaged with the PR community in bringing coaching to all the people there. So coaches and mentors, he was the one who brought. These people are on my right side for the motion, and on my left is against the motion. I'll start with Vandana. She wears multiple hats, not one which she is wearing today. She's a business leader and India lead for 6 Degrees BCW and strategic advisor as the Chief Client Strategy Officer at BCW India. Her career again for more than 2.5 decades has spanned across things. But one thing was there, the change which she has seen the agency change, the names of the organizations in her has only changed, but her passion for growing business has remained, particularly in leading integrated communication. Ashwini sir, I mean I say sir sometimes because of the grey hair which I am also getting, but he's one of the youngest there. Just before this panel, he was teaching us how to actually use photographs and URLs to get everything uploaded on your phone, the contacts, etc. Thanks, Puna, also for the tip. Ashwini is the founding managing partner of Astral Reputation Advisory. He's someone who has been very much part of the PR industry in a very different format. He has seen industry grow. He has changed and brought the science of advisory with Astrum. He has been very involved with the C-suite in giving them advertising and strategy. He is involved with various industry bodies beyond the PR, FICCI, CII, and IMA. Ashwini's expertise and influence has been in the PR industry, and also now as an amateur golfer and cruise biker, this is something which is very. Then we have the person who arrives with AI, Aman Gupta. You know, if I check, use one of the generative AIs, there is something he didn't arrive by boat, by the way. That's the other. If you use AI and ask who is Aman Gupta, it will be a mix of this managing partner and health practice Asia lead of SPAC Fin and also confuses with boat. He previously held executive roles at Imprimus and also in the pharma and medical industry with Lupin and Ranbaxy. He has led a lot of global campaigns, and I am fortunate in working with him on several campaigns. Melinda Gates, WHO, and on patent. Now he is also a budding theatre professional. So when we have a theatre personality, drama hoga, तैयार होइए. So before we start, one thing is there that we all have been using phones. So continue using the phones. But here, you can use these phones to take pictures and put hashtag. There's some of the discussions which are going to happen is for this room, but that I leave it to your jurisdiction whether you want to actually share it, because they are senior professionals. They may be sharing something with of experience, which not exactly in the heated discussion which we are going to have, hopefully, may not be true if it's just taken in one line, because sometimes we know that when only few words are taken, the meaning goes for a toss. So with all the experienced audience around, I would just know that please respect when when the quote is given, please put it in totality. Just don't use half quotes. We have had situations where one of the speakers had to, his quote was disputed. So just respect that part. Now, we'll start with the right side. I would leave the panelist on my right for the opening remarks. For once, you can choose whoever wants to do the opening remark. All yours. To try and maintain the timeline, you can take 1 or 2 minutes depending on what you want to answer.
Right. So thanks, Anu, for setting the context. In fact, I don't know whether Aman made use of AI to reach here, but I actually used. So just to start, I think thanks, Vishwani, for setting the context. So AI is not a new thing. So let me go back to the history so that I want to make things very simple. It's a buzzwords, everybody is talking about it. We are very excited about AI being there, generative AI and stuff like that. Generative AI definitely is a new thing, which I'll talk about later. But when we talk about AI, do you all know when this was used last? I mean, the first time when AI was used? I'm sure very few of us know about it. So when we go back to the history, so AI, in fact, came into being only when masses started using it, when masses started using Chat GPT just a couple of years back in 2022 end. But AI is not a new concept. It's a 100-year-old concept. And just to tell you, AI, artificial intelligence, was first used by the American computer engineer, John McCarthy, while he was developing a program, computer programming he was doing. So that was the first time it was used. And since then, there have been a lot of development in the front of AI, but we were not aware. In fact, when I say that I made use of AI to reach here, so the GPS navigation system that you use, that is again AI enabled. So I reached here from Noida to this place by using that navigation system. So all of us, we laughed when he said that Aman made use of AI. I don't know whether he used the navigation system or not. Yes, I did use AI. And I think all of us in some way or the other use AI and have been using AI. But it has become talk of the town, it has become a buzzword only a couple of years back, as I said. So we, coming from the PR profession or the communications profession, we know when anything reaches masses, so obviously it has more appeal, it has more traction. So that's what OpenAI did in 2022. Within a month's time, I think everybody started talking about ChatGPT. And now I think it has become part of our daily life. So when we talk about PR industry, we are no different. We have, I think most of us have been using ChatGPT. But yes, is it going to overhaul the entire PR industry? I would say yes. Why so? Because there are multiple things that are happening on a daily basis. So you need to be aware of the progress that's happening in the AI world. So when we talk about generative AI, a lot of things that we are doing, and whatever creativity we are talking about, many things are getting generated in a creative format, and something which is new can be created from generative AI. AI brings in automation, which is already there. So I think just last point I would like to make here, that before I pass it on to my team members, that this is not something new and it is still evolving. There are a lot of developments happening. In fact, when we talk about emotional intelligence, which I'll talk about later, there AI has a role to play, and there are new developments happening in the AI field, and OpenAI has recently introduced a lot of new things which I'll talk about later. Let me pass it on to my team members now.
Thank you, Runa. So my job is to build on that and offer the audience and my esteemed debaters here a clear proposition as to why the PR industry is already in deep water, and if we don't adopt AI and experiment with AI, it is going to be time for us to either sink or swim. I just got back from a graduation ceremony. My son graduated, so I was very inspired by the graduation speeches, and I went in search of graduation speeches that talk about adopting change. Because I think really what this entire debate is about, are we willing to embrace this huge change that is being thrust upon us? And I found a speech by a gentleman by the name of David Foster Wallace. It's rated as one of the top 10 commencement speeches. delivered in 2005. And I'm just going to read out a paragraph from it. It says, there are two young fish swimming along, and they happen to meet an older fish that is swimming the other way, who nods at them and says, "Morning, boys, how's the water?" And the two young fish swim on for a bit, and then eventually one of them looks over at the other and goes, "What the hell is water?" Right? So what this is trying to illustrate to the graduating class is exactly what Runa made the point on, that AI is all around us. The question of do we need to adopt it is actually not one that we have the choice to even debate. We are living it, we are breathing it. Some of us are aware of it, some aren't. And in the classical way of a PR person, instead of talking more, I think the show and tell is what we always do. I'm going to do a quick show and tell. Okay, so this is created with AI. It is done in under 30 seconds. It was done by my son just to show me the power of AI. And imagine what we are missing if we don't use this technology in our business. So imagine what we are missing if we don't use this technology in our business. So on that note, I'll hand over to Nitin to build on the proposition as to why AI is imperative.
Okay, thanks, Nikhil. Thanks, Runa. Yeah, I've just come back from an AI event yesterday where I unveiled a report from B, which really touched upon some of the things and building on what Nikhil was saying on what we can do in our industry. And honestly, there is no doubt that AI will soon touch nearly every part of our life, like Runa said. I just want to go back a few years. I was at a similar panel discussion with, at I think Sabre or somewhere with Arun Sudaman of Prabhu, where he asked me a question, and one of my responses there was that the traditional PR industry, the PR agency is dead, right? Doesn't exist anymore. That was fine. Today, I can tell you we are on the cusp of that same change, where the way we run comms or PR is completely being changed or overhauled with the advent of AI. Just a few weeks back, the launch of OpenAI ChatGPT's 4.0, the O standing for omni-modal, a modal marked a pivotal moment in this landscape, right? We now have a ChatGPT that listens, looks, talks, combining the capabilities of chatbots, image generators, and voice assistants in one neat package. That is the speed at which AI continues to redefine possibilities. The question for us is really clear. Are we ready to ride this AI wave? Are we ready to embrace it? The survey, one of the questions we asked was, how many people think that AI will change the way you work and the way your firm evolves, the way your firm works? 5% said, only 5% said it will not change. 5%. Now that really shows that how many people believe that change is inevitable. And the power of AI to the way we work is inevitable.
Thank you, Nitin. Traditional PR is dead. The right is not always right. That the left. I leave it to my esteemed panelist on the left. Please open.
Anu, one correction. Traditional PR agency, not traditional.
Sorry, I stand corrected. Traditional PR agencies in the current form are dead. That's what my colleague on the right side said. But I said right is not necessarily right. But I am not here to judge. I leave it to my audience. But before that, people on my left, you have a chance to rebut, or you have to say that what they are saying may make sense with your views. So please take a view.
Thanks Anup. And before I start off, a big thank you to Baron and the Exchange for Media team. It's great to have a debate series like this. It takes us back to college, can't recall having a debate setting like this. So I think a great kickoff by our colleagues on the right. And in some way, they've made a job a little easier for us AI has been around, so I don't understand why they're making such a big deal of it. I think public relations industry is very resilient to evolve instead of an overhaul and adapt itself. I think the mettle of the professionals in this room and beyond is there to making sure that we're always making use of these technologies, including AI, to make us sharper, better, and if I can steal the ad tagline, taller, sharper, stronger. I hope I got that right. So I'm going to make 2 points before I get my colleagues to talk about. Public relations, by the very definition, is about relations, and that is face-to-face relations. No amount of technology can take away that. So it's on us to see how is it that we adapt and adopt and use technology to make these relationships stronger on the back of meaningful insights, data, but that can't be the driver. And my second point is that we live in a very complex world where there are regulatory, ethical nuances which no machine can get. It is us humans who will get it. There have been tectonic shifts in centuries that mankind has faced, our industry has faced, and each time we've come out stronger by making sure that we use these technologies in the right way, help counsel our clients and brands so that they're able to, tell better stories, reach the audiences in a better way. And enough death pronunciations have been made about these jobs will not be there and all of that. Yes, there will be impact on jobs, but when has that not been in the last decades of this industry? I'll leave it to my colleagues to take it from there.
Okay, I think the first thing we need to understand the topic first. When we look at the topic, it says, does the industry need an overhaul, a complete overhaul because of an AI? And I think that in itself is the first point to say it does not need an overhaul in its totality. This industry does not need it. And I think as Vandana said, public relations as an industry, there are 3 pillars, kind of over 3 which I would like to bring in. There's the people part of it, there's a process part of it, and there's a product part of it. And the core to this whole thing is the people part. And that is what really drives the industry, because while technology, and I'm going to take a bigger picture, it's not just AI, it's about technology in its totality, can make things efficient, it can throw things in front of you. How do you interpret what's coming from there is where the human intervention is required. When you go and are engaging with any leadership at the client side, client is not looking for what have you been built to generate from a technology, because that might be something which everybody may have, but how do you slice, dice, interpret, analyze, and bring it to the life in a big picture, which is where the human intelligence comes in. Apart from that, and that's why we're coming from the council, but in a larger context, and I think all of us who are in this room and in communication, including my colleagues here on the dais, the success of every campaign is about how human-to-human relationships are. How are we able to really go through those relationships, to really come out with the real conversations which are able to make a difference, which is able to make people understand and bring in a behavior change which we are looking for. That behavior change which we are looking for will not be happening if we are just going to use cookie cutter technologies, which is something which is there. I'm not saying the technology is not something which is there. It's something I think even my colleague said, it's been there around. We as an industry and every other industry will continue to adapt those technology to make processes efficient, to make the people who drive this industry much more efficient, making things which are more templatized, something which could be done in a shorter period of time by using the technology. That will happen. But will this bring in a complete overhaul into the industry? I think for that, I completely believe that's not going to happen. The power of the human intelligence, our ability to see the big picture, our creativity, which comes in, which cannot be something which will be provided by the technology, and our ability to sort of navigate the emotions. I think that is something which will always remain, and I think that's something which is very, very core to our industry person. Ashwin sir.
Thank you to my fellow panelists and people in the team in the board motion. Thank you, Karan, for having me here. The people speaking for the motion made 3 points. Pointed to the history and the longevity of that technology, the ease in which content will be created, and the pervasive impact of technology. I'd like to talk about all 3 of them. I will not go into the two very important points of which were made in defense of this motion. Number one, 1400 was the first time Gutenberg created the printing press. What is public relations? Public relations is nothing but the science and art of communication to create a better understanding between two individuals, organizations, or public in general. You can take those institutions to be governments, organizations, or just people to people. Communication remains at the heart of understanding and creating communication, or communication remains at the heart of creating understanding, or influence in any manner, or persuasion of any manner, in any form that you want to define public relations. Therefore, if 1400 was the first time when printing press was invented, Marconi invented the telephone, radio was invented, television was invented, internet was invented. All proponents of this fear-mongering of technology reshaping our lives is something that we have heard through centuries and centuries and centuries. But the human ingenuity has always and always conquered. Therefore, we must not forget the fact that humans have created technology, and human ingenuity will continue to lead the advent of technology. Therefore, creating this fear factor or the FOMO to say we will lose out in some aspect of our life because the next version of technology, which in my purpose called GPT, whether it's with O or I or A or any form of vowel that comes out in its upgrade, will only update and make us sharper, smarter, better. As technology has done so in these various forms of life. In my generation, which is different from some of the generations here, internet was born, and we were told that life will no longer be the same because internet and social media will kill the public relations industry because intermediation is dead. Advocacy, ladies and gentlemen, will always remain a powerful instrument of public relations, and for us to be good advocates, technology can only be an enabler for us. So yes, in part, do we update ourselves from time to time? That's human nature. If humans never updated themselves, then we would be what we were born with. Education and everything that we learn throughout life is what updates us. Therefore, advent of GPT, which is a technological shift, first time in its life based from zeros and ones to a language, will enable us to learn sharper, smarter, faster. Do we need to rehaul ourselves? Absolutely not. Do we need to re-update ourselves as we've done through technology? Absolutely yes. With that, I rest my motion. Thank you, Chair.
Great. We need to start, we need to stop, we need to pause. Before we pause, and I give it to the right side, one of the things which they said that history has seen that we have used technology. Now, the key question is in the future. So people for the motion, now if you are saying that agencies need to overhaul with the advent of AI, can you give instances of how some of the agencies are actually seeing the change? Because technology is one part, but how are we actually doing a capacity building for the team members? If for benefit for a lot of the people who are online and also there, and a lot of the budding professionals, if we can give instances why actually how agencies are using AI and it is just not big talks. People on my right, please.
Anup, I will answer that, but it is a debate, and I do owe an answer to the points that were made very eloquently by my fellow debaters. So there were three things that came out to me. Vandana talked about the power of relationships, and that's being the essence of PR. Amanda talked about behavior change and creativity, and these were 2 points around which he said only the human beings have to be used and AI will fall flat or short. And Ashwani, of course, summed it up talking about the essence of communication and the power of advocacy and how communication has found its way through multiple changes of technology. And for all these, I would like to offer this simple counter. Relationships today are being made, forged, and transacted through technology. The way in which we used to meet and greet each other changed completely. My son's girlfriend, they met online, they dated online, they continue to engage online, and they live their lives in many ways online. So our ability to embrace this world is our own adaptability. As a PR industry, are we able to change our behavior? I gave you an example of how I creatively used a video. I used it. We are in no way postulating that the human beings go out of this equation. We are just saying that as a industry, if all the people of PR don't embrace this, don't rush forward into embracing this technology, we could be missing a beat. And I will support this, Ashwini, using what you talked about, the history of innovation. If you look at various phases of innovation, there was the domestication of animals, the first big innovation. Then there was the birth of organized religion, the invention of writing, and then the Industrial Revolution. Now, if you look at the Industrial Revolution, when machines came into being, factories and productivity and the entire machine age was a big, big leap forward in society growth and changes in social structures. But there's an interesting research shows that in mechanization, there were two phases. There was the steam engine, and then came the electric engine. Now, for a 25-year period, factories in the US refused to or resisted the change and embracing electrification. They took their old thinking, which was a steam engine in the center, and tried to build around it. So when the electric engine came, they put a big electric engine in the middle and tried to build around it. And I think that's what the PR industry is doing. We have a historical way of working, and we are unable to see, or many of us are unable to see the potential that this new technology offers. So instead of plunking that electric engine in the middle, because earlier on it had to be near a water source, the power it could unleash to speed things up, to enhance productivity, to enhance profit, are the things that we would be missing if we don't embrace AI. And that's on the last note, since you did ask me a question, one of the first things we did as a firm is literally within weeks and months of this ChatGPT rage coming in, we rolled out a training program for about 800 of our team members to orient them, expose them, teach them how to use it, but also how not to use it.
So you made your point, Nikhil.
Yeah.
Nitin, if you want to add something, otherwise we'll put on the left side.
So, I'll just add two things, right? The first thing is to answer your question and take it from what Nikhil was saying. We as a firm have a global AI task force, right? The day it launched, I mean, Microsoft for us is one of our big clients in the US. And that task force has worked the last almost a year now on how to use technology within the agency, right? So we're doing a lot of it, training is going on. But the two other points I wanted to make from what Ashwini and Aman was saying was, one is that even if we see where we are today from where we all started our careers from, our agencies have changed. The way we work has changed, right? And that is only through embracing good technology or changes that we've seen in this industry. I mean, we never had production designers and production people and etc. in our agencies even probably 7-8 years ago, right? So that has completely changed, right? We have changed, and I think technology, if we don't embrace AI now, and sorry, Aman, and I think Nikhil made that point, you can do a lot. Today there are tools. We have a tool called VStack where we use AI to do creatives. We do not only creatives but video production, right? And it's almost everything is possible today. And if you don't change the way we are working as an industry, we'll probably be left behind.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to add one point. So as my friend said that you said about creativity and the human relations. So that's the part of PR game. But at the same time, as he said, the technology has a role to play. I would like to add that wherever there is a process, and I'm sure wherever you talk about creative mindset or you talk about human relations, there is a process. Now, these are considered to be skills, whether it's analytical, critical thinking. These are all the skill sets that people need to have. And in order to have those skill sets, you need to follow a particular process. So wherever there is a process, there is a technology. And technology like AI has a long role to play, has a great role to play as far as human relations or creativity is concerned. And that was the example given by Nitin. One more point I would like to add here is when we talk about privacy benefits or when we talk about the ethical communication where we have a role, the researchers, the big players like Microsoft, they are already into it and they are doing research on that. So just I think a couple of days back, maybe last week, they announced something called Copilot plus PC, which is again AI enabled. AI enabled PC which can work on your local computer. You don't need internet also. So there again they have considered the privacy part of it, which you can use. It has the capacity to actually understand the emotional triggers of the person and the way the person behaves, and accordingly it generates output. So it depends basically on the input that is provided, which definitely will be provided by humans, and that's how you will get the output, the effective output.
Yeah, thanks, Runa. I mean, I think the very valid point that yes, they're there. From a data perspective, very valid point. And yes, what I think earlier, my people on the left side, they have told that it is all about human to human relationships. And like you just said, the valid point on this one was the deep learning, if I use the word. But is it really happening? What do you think? I mean, this is open to both the sides, but is deep learning actually doing the truth, trust, transparency angle, or the technology just shifting it back?
Let me first, with your permission, Mr. Chair. I want to congratulate my colleagues on the right because they have, in this last rebuttal, pretty much agreed with what we said. I think the subject of our conversation here is, does the industry need an overhaul? I don't think we heard any argument here which says we need to overhaul and completely shift. Did we overhaul ourselves when television came into the picture, Mr. Chair? No, we did not. We just learned to create content, which was audiovisual, right? So yes, well, in the fact that Mr. Day's firm trained 800 people to help them update themselves to deal with the changes in the technology is exactly the point we are making. We have always learned through the ages, therefore there's no need for an overall because we just need to learn to deal with what this technology is doing. To that extent, Unachi made a very interesting point. Why do you need an overall? The technology companies are doing the job for you through Copilot and other resources. They will do the job for you. So you don't have to really need an overall because technology will enable you to do the job that you're supposed to do using AI or generative technology. Point number two. Point number three. Mr. Day talked about the evolution and the steam engine. When we talked about the fact that engine and industry resisted adopting the engine and therefore lost the plot. Might I remind everybody that in the California gold rush, only 0.1% of the people made money, 99.99% lost. AI or GPT is the new gold rush where everybody is feeding on the FOMO of the people. So I would humbly submit the fact that yes, as any process, we need to update, we need to educate, we need to learn how to deal with the new advent of technology, but to fearmonger and talk about the fact that we need to re-overhaul ourselves or reimagine our new world would be putting it a little bit more than what is required. So I rest my point.
Yeah, thank you. It was quite a steam out there, but the question which one they had put was that it's not about adopting the technology. If I hear it right, because that's a gradual process. Just adopting a technology was not. The key question, which maybe the House wants to know, is that in the age of when PR is considered all about human-to-human relationships, primarily, of course, technology can always help. I mean, from inland letter, we have come to Slack, or we are putting data on the cloud. That's not the issue. The issue is that if we are using technology, are we getting lazy? The key is access of information versus the accountability, the ownership of data. This is open both the sides, but I think people, because we saw a lot of steam, you answer. Is truth, trust, transparency going for a toss because technology is intervening too much?
So, a very fair point, and I'd like
You want
to
us to
address
speak
this.
against that?
I don't know.
It's not a debate.
No, I have. So I'm going to just take the example that Nikhil raised about how through technology we've been able to have relationships with a larger ecosystem. which earlier we couldn't. I think a very fair and a valid point. But I think the efficacy of that relationship is going to depend on the messaging. What is it that we are hoping to achieve? That no technology or machine can do it for us. And I'm sure everybody in this room will agree that when you've got a poorly written pitch or an email coming to you, I think all of us are savvy enough to know you to ChatGPT se likha hai. There is no customization, there is no thought that's gone into it. So I think the point here is about our ability to be ahead of the machines and technology, of being able to making sure that that particular technology is giving us the right kind of insights. Everyone sitting here is aware that when we reach out to our clients during particularly issues and crisis, they're not interested in reams and reams of reports that would come in from a tracking or a listening agency or a tool. They want to know what is the insight that's coming in, and that is where we all, as practitioners of public relations and reputation, come into play. So I think in our hurriedness to adapt and adopt and overhaul, we should not lose the inherent goodness of experience, which only comes through getting exposed to various situations over time. So it needs to be a synergy of both, and technology shouldn't drive our destiny, but we as practitioners of this profession needs to take that on. In that respect, Anup, to your point, if we do not become slaves to technology, we as professionals will be better in charge of trust, transparency, fairness, and what should be the right way that we communicate. If we do not, and in our hurriedness try and adopt whatever that's coming our way, we stand to lose much more than we gain.
I think what I will do is I'll try to sort of bring an example from a different industry. It's health, that's an industry which I have known for a number of years. As we know, over a period of time, when we look at the surgical and clinical outcomes, the technology has always been a part of any doctor, any surgeons in hospitals. Some of the new things which we are hearing happening nowadays is what we call the robotic assisted surgery with AI, inbuilt into it. But when you go into a surgical room, are you going to be dependent, and therefore coming to the point of the trust, are you going to trust the robotic assisted surgery with generative AI into it? Or are you going to be trusting the clinical efficiency of a doctor who is using the technology to just make the system much more efficient? Is getting a certain data which is allowing him to go up and sort of understand the nuances, which he knows as somebody who's been doing this for so many years, but he is going to be using that additional tool to do a couple of things. One, therefore, if it is robotic surgery, the blood loss will be. Yes, so therefore a person can come out of the room in a lesser number of days. You know that because it is much more precise, and that is what's going to happen. I think therefore, the point which comes in very easily is that in any industry, as the technology comes out, you do need to bring it in. But how much, how and where, is that something which is coming from the people who are leading the industry, and it cannot be the other way around. And the trust will come from the people. It will come from, and I think as Nitin, you talked about, I think almost every global agency right now have an AI model for that. How do you adapt the AI and technology into the system? Because there are considerations which goes beyond just the technology part of it. So
I think the challenge there, Aman, is let this be a debate. So the challenge is that when you're talking about change, adopting technology, that actually means overhauling the way you work. With the advent of AI, because I don't recall the name, and I'll have it. I can tell you after this the panel is over. There's an ad agency, US ad agency, that has fired all its copywriters. That is overhauling the way an ad agency works today, right? So when you're using technology and changing the way you work, that's changing the way you're working. That's overhauling it, right? It's not about saying we'll adapt. Oh, I got technology. हम social media use करेंगे. No, it's about making sure that you use AI, whether it's in content, in creative. Are we saying that you're not going to talk to a journalist?
Exactly is the point. Are we suggesting? I don't think on this side we're suggesting that we're going to remove all the content writers from the system.
I didn't say that. I'm saying that there's an ad agency who's thinking like that. I'm just saying that a lot of people are thinking differently, right? It's forcing you to think differently. That's the point.
So the point I'm trying to understand, are we saying that because of the AI, we're gonna have a complete overhaul where departments will be completely out, which I don't think is gonna happen. Just it will be added to the system, it will make the departments efficient, the people have to update themselves, but will it completely remove the human part of the system? That's not
We never said the human part is going to go away.
When
We
you
are
talk
talking
about
about getting the human to use this technology
Exactly.
in the best way, and that requires a complete overhaul. It requires a war chest of money, like literally 3 M's. One is the money you need to invest. The task force working on it, it needs a significant amount of money to figure out exactly what the agency of the future or the PR team of the future is going to look like. You have to put aside a budget for this if you're a future-looking agency. The second is you need the best minds. You need some really smart people figuring out how to do it. But the biggest part is I think you need an overhaul of mindset. Because the GPT-enabled crappy messaging that you're getting is coming from a mindset of pedestrian people who are not using this technology efficiently. And that overhaul is what we need, or else our industry is going to suffer. And that's really why we are saying we must embrace it.
In fact, overall is a process overall that we are talking about. Not that they will be like everybody will be out of their job. Not at all. Overall in the process itself, because data has a role to play, and whatever insights we are generating, it's no more a guess game. So from data only you can generate insights. You can do some predictive analysis. As to suppose there is something on social media that you're doing. So what is it? At what time of the day, or how do you schedule a particular kind of a messaging? So all those insights can be drawn from AI, which is right now, I believe, in fact, there was a time when we used to say that we don't have measurable metrics in PR. Now we have, but do we have enough data which gives us the insights? Yes, we have it. I think all the agencies, they do have some data. If you're doing some brand campaign, what kind of an insight will you draw that, okay, after 10 years from now, if I do this campaign, what was the historical perspective and what kind of an audience will I get? All those needs to be data driven. And again, you need to have a customized approach to AI. I'm not saying that technology is available, just go and grab it. You need to have a customized approach for each and every agency that works on PR or communication. That customization will come from human minds only.
I think there's no doubt about the fact that technology needs to be adopted in our way of working. I think all the agencies across here and outside have a war chest. We at WPP have spent multi-million to have our own version of ChatGPT. We call ourselves a creative technology company running integrated campaigns. So I think there's no debate about the fact that this technology needs to be adopted. But does it need to be done by one size fits all? Each agency is in a different life cycle. So the agency that Nitin cited about, all copywriters fired would be in a certain evolutionary scale. Does that model fit for everyone? Not really. So we have to be very careful about how technology is adopted and adapted. It doesn't need to be an overhaul. It needs to be an evolution. And sure, if you're not going to do your evolution cycle fast, like the Darwin's law, you will die. So I think there's no debate about it. But should it be done in a mindless fashion, to just adopt it with no thought given to things like integrity of data, how young minds are able to use that technology in the right way, I think are no moot points that we need to think about before we proceed further.
I don't think we actually said that we need to not think and in haste use technology. I think when you have a task force like we do, or when Nikhil said they trained 800 people in his agency, the idea is to study the technology and then implement it, and then change the mindset of people, the way they will use the technology to work for the betterment of your industry, your client, your job, basically. That's the whole idea. But unless that mindset changes, until we actually embrace it, we're going to lose. Simple. By the way, the agency I just checked to focus.
Well, thank you very much for that wonderful remarks. Mr. Chairman, you talked about truth, transparency being sacrificed. I think vilification of technology is not something that we should entertain, because at the end of the day, gun doesn't kill. It's the person who's pulling the trigger that actually causes death. Technology, with the same gun, you can save lives. Different countries, nations bring law and order. So it is not about technology as much as about the people behind the technology. So therefore, to that point of whether technology is sacrificing truth or transparency, no. It's the people who are using that technology to create opaqueness or disinformation, which I think we need to think about. To my mind, the entire debate seems to be now more semantical around the word overall rather than the substantive part of adoption. overall, in my sense, in Webster, defines itself as a makeover, shift. The only thing that we're talking about here is a sense of urgency or the scale at which we need to adopt. I think the panel would agree. In all 6 people here will not say we should not adopt it as we have adopted through the ages. The technology needs to be adopted, that is for sure. The question is, should we be so urgently paranoid about it and say be driven by the FOMO factor of it? No. As over a period of time, even the version from November 2022, when ChatGPT was announced by OpenAI, to today, GPT-O, which is 24 January, GPT itself has undergone a massive evolution. Therefore, I believe that a nuanced, a more measured approach needs to be looked at, including the capacity of the human mind to be able to learn, adopt, and be good at doing something. Therefore, if the question is about overall is about adoption and the scale of adoption and the pace at which we need to adopt, I would argue that the human mind will learn at the pace it will learn, and therefore a nuanced and more measured approach would be called for so that it can actually make a pervasive difference in the adoption. Thank you very much.
You made a very valid point, and I think it's not the gun which kills, but we all know Lord of Wars and Warlords, what happens if it is given in the wrong hands. One of the key things which is there that I think it's about adoption and then the overhaul in a different context which is there, that the agency. So here, before the House takes a decision, one thing which I would like, again, people on my right to answer is that, are we actually getting into this buzzword of AI and adopting it in the real sense where the communication industry overall is changing? Because it's not just PR. Media we have seen, in fact the next panel is on where we have a lot of journalists coming. You have been a journalist. So it's just that, which Ashwini also mentioned, that yes, the ChatGPT, the buzzword created. But is it just that because the AI, ChatGPT has become a buzzword that we are having all these debates and discussions? Or is it like the overall mindset of PR, which Nitin, which you mentioned that as an industry which you have been putting? So the question is AI the problem if it is to be used at, or is it just like a facilitator? I think that will help us in summarizing these points.
In fact, we should have thought about it long time back, before AI came into being. In fact, generative AI came into being. So it was since put forth to the masses and we are talking about it. But I think all of us in this industry, we have been facing this issue of automation. So automation, whether it's share of voice, sentiment analysis, consumer behavior and stuff like that. So those are there right now, which was not there maybe a decade or 2 decades back. Now automation is a given thing as far as PR and communication is concerned. But overhauling, when we talk about, or when we talk about consumer relationships or relationship building, so there I think again technology has a role to play. And we have to move, we have to raise the bar. We cannot be sitting here and taking that as a threat that, okay, things will be, as it comes, we'll adopt it. So it is moving at a very fast pace. So measurable approach, as my friend said, is definitely there, but we have to move at a very fast pace. We have to be agile enough to take up the technology and also to contribute to the technology. Right now, I don't see anything where our experiences are put into the tool and we get some kind of an insight. So I think experienced people here, as compared to the Gen Z, those who are very much familiar with the technology, but again, they do not have the experience. So that overhauling is required, where you need to marry the two, and you need to provide those processes, those insights, those scenarios, those experiences, so that we get a good output out of that. So ultimately, it's a system. The input that is given, that will be processed, and the output that you'll get will be basis the input that you're providing. I think we are the inputs. The experienced people are the inputs. And this is a time where we need to work together in harmony with automation, or you may call it AI, or any technology that comes to the fore.
Working in harmony. So, do you want the other side to talk, or?
I'd just like to respond to Ashwini's point around the speed at which we need to adopt or adapt or overhaul, and it's not about the semantics. It is about the urgency, and I think that's the moot point. This side believes there is a dire urgency, and what we're hearing from that side of the table is no, it's okay, we can navigate it slowly. And the pace at which this change is suddenly taken off, we are at that inflection point where it's no longer small waves of change. It is a tidal wave. And you can't learn to surf when that wave's hitting you. If we don't get on our surfing shorts now and get surf ready, we won't enjoy that. We will be submerged as an industry. So we would postulate that really it is a tremendously urgent need right now for all of us to shift our mindset and say we must look at this with tremendous urgency, otherwise we will as an industry submerge.
I think I'll respond by saying that it's a known fact that humans resist and hate change. And at the end of the day, if we have to make a change, then it needs to be done where you carry people with you. There can't just be one or two vanguards propagating change with the human capacity of adapting to that change not being there. So again, going back to the point that it needs to look at the cycle of maturity of a particular organization and what kind of technology change and pace that they set. I think it's a very individual question for each.
So I would also request now that maybe people in the audience, you can summarize, take 30 seconds to 1 minute to summarize.
I think, if we just look from a 30-second, I think the one thing which came out very clearly was that technology or AI, whatever it wants to put, it's something which has to be adapted and not something which needs a complete overall in the AI ecosystem. There might be places where it can play a role, especially in certain processes and certain projects, because it could add efficiencies, it could help the humans who are leading the larger conversations to do things in a much more efficient way. However, if we look at the core to where we are, it will still be led by the human intelligence, the human ingenuity, the way we look at it, the way we are able to interpret and how the big picture is. So while adaptation is something which will happen, and it will happen as per the size, scale, and the life cycle of the organization and its different departments. So it's not something which is gonna happen at one go across. So depending upon where you are geographically, where you are in your life cycle of the organization, and within the organization, which department are we talking about? That will define how the adaptation, the space, and urgency will be done.
Thank you. People for the motion, if you can just help with summarizing.
I'll just add to what Roland has already mentioned. I don't think we have the luxury of time, like Aman and Aman just mentioned. I think, in fact, I believe that some of the younger firms will probably adapt much quicker and better. And the earlier we do it, the better it is for the industry, and the better it is for our industry and for everybody. And lastly, to your point, Anup, about technology being, misinformation, etc. Just to add, I don't think, yesterday's event, we got the same question, and actually Meenu said this, who's from Google. She said, no technology is actually good or bad. It's the way it's us humans, the way we use it. That's the main thing. So eventually, no technology is going to be good or bad. The way we use it, the way we permeate it within the organization to help change is going to be important.
Thank you, my esteemed panelists, both on the left and right. So, that's a very crucial day, not only because we are having this discussion, but this is almost like that exit polls give some rujhan. Abhi rujhan aa raha hai. So this discussion, primarily the esteemed members, both on my left and right, ये सिर्फ रुझान दिखा रहे थे. ये क्या होगा? कुछ चीजों का तो पता 4 जून को पता चलेगा, लेकिन शायद whether AI in this format, which is there, but one thing which I think the House will say, just to summarize, that AI is transforming in whatever capacity it has been used historically, whether it was email in certain manner that started adopting, to targeted communication strategies which are being done, courtesy, the automation, and the human-to-human adaptation of that. But it does pose some challenge in terms of whether people are going to get, I've just used the word lazy, which my panelists did not use, but are they getting lazy? They are not adopting it in the right manner of doing research, the access part. It is not going to affect jobs in this context unless we adopt it and train ourselves. So capacity building is something which is important, which people on my right side had expressed, and people on the left did not rebut on that. They said, yes, we have been doing it, just that it should not go in the wrong hands. balancing AI's benefits is a challenge because it has to be used. We should not become warlords. But if we allow the PR communication professionals to use it in a right manner, the efficiency, the personalization, and strategic insight while maintaining the ethical standards will remain. So, as they say, truth is subjective. What is truth for you will not be there. Transparency cannot be compromised. Trust comes from there, and technology to larger extent is going to help. And like you said, time is not on our side, but time is always there because time's up for the next panel to start. So thank you, House, and thank you, my esteemed members, for being there. The nation wants to know. So one thing which was clear is that debates can be